For years, Zoom has literally owned the handheld recorder market, with their H series basically being the Swiss Army knife of portable recorders. I mean, these things have been massive workhorses, and to Zoom's credit, they packed so much capability into these things that I've never really scratched the surface of their abilities. Even Dylan, who's a power user, doesn't really utilize everything, but regardless, those utilities are available to you. But the units are kind of getting on in years and haven't aged well technologically. And then disappointingly, their only update was the Essential series that did very little to improve on the older models. Now, I do have to give a nod to the newer H8, which did have much better specs than the older models, but it's hardly a handheld unit, and while it's cool, I think it's just a bit outside of what these things can do. But then, a couple years back, Tascam took a significant swipe at the market share that Zoom enjoys with their Portacapture series. 2021 for the X8, and then just last year in 2023 for the X6. Could it be that Tascam has the absolute best handheld recorder on the market right now? Let's find out as we compare the Portacapture X6 to the Zoom H5. We're also going to throw in comparisons to the H4 Essential, just for shits and giggles. The H5 was one of the last Zoom recorders that didn't have that Zoom plastic feel. Don't get too excited though, that rubbery finish did not age well at all. It kind of gets sticky, especially when it's a little wet. It's kind of gross. The Portacapture, however, is plastic, but it isn't cheap feeling, nothing like the Essentials lineup. The X6 feels like it has some decent heft, and I think it has a bit of an edge over both units.
File list.
Is that part of the handling noise? I think that should be. It's so bad. Again, though, I mean, this thing was released like 12 years ago. Of course, the XY mics on the H5 are awesome, and they're even shock mounted, while the Zoom showing is not all that impressive. While the X6 doesn't have replaceable capsules though, it does have a trick up its sleeve with the ability to swivel those capsules into an A-B position. The buttons on all three are fine, though the H5 buttons are a touch noisy. The X6, they're less noisy, but still have a bit of a click. Surprisingly, the H4 Essential wins this one with completely silent operation. Now, I should also point out, I have no idea where else to bring this up, but the X6 needs 2 extra AA batteries to operate. That's probably because of the massive screen, so it's a bit of a downer there. As for the winner in this round, I think we have to give it to the H5, and that's for one important reason, and that is the supposed drop test. Now, I've dropped this thing a few times, and it's no worse for wear. I can honestly say I don't think either the H4 Essential or the Portacapture X6 would do as well, so this round goes to the H5. As for the physical features, pretty much all around similar here. All three have the XY mics. All three have 2 inputs. Now, both the H5 and X6 have separate line-out and headphone jacks, while the H4 Essential has those combined. One big difference between the Zoom models and the Tascam, though, are the channel selectors, basically letting you choose which channels you're going to be recording with actual physical buttons on the Zoom. It's kind of a nice touch. Now, Tascam does have the options, but only in the software. Both the newer units are microSD, and I believe both allow you to use ridiculously large cards, but I won't hold that against the H5. The 2 newer models have USB-C, while the H5 has the USB mini connection. It's not the worst one, but still. Now, all three have some way of telling you that they're recording, but the Tascam has a peak indicator. That is a cool little feature. I do also have to point out, the Zoom H4 Essential doesn't have any knobs on it for gain control, so this one's out of the race immediately. Meaning, this one has to go to the Tascam. Now, in the specs is where we start to see some of the separation between these units. Starting with the sample rate, the 2 newer units, the X6 and the H4 Essential, have 32-bit float and 96 kHz, while the H5 is 24-bit and 96 kHz. And I also have to point out that these all have different specs listed, and that's because there is frustratingly no standard for this. it's hard to kind of properly compare all these. However, one spec does really stand out, and that is EIN. The H5 has an EIN of neg 120. The H4 Essential, released 10 years after the H5, has an EIN of neg 120, the same as the H5. And the Tascam X6 has an EIN of neg 125. And it's because of that, the X6 has to win this round. And this one's going to be a bit of a short disaster for Zoom. The one technology that they have stubbornly refused to do much with is the screen. And even when they did update it on the Essential series, it was kind of underwhelming. So let's just get this out of the way. The Zoom H5 has the standard Zoom screen that is ubiquitous throughout their lineup. We all know it and love/hate it as well. This, comparatively, is their Essential screen. Ooh, color. And this is the Porta-Capture screen. If nothing else, this is a massive upgrade to the old Zoom screen and still a pretty big upgrade over the Essential screen. But more than that, this screen is touchscreen, so yeah, this is a pretty easy one to call. This one goes to the Porta-Capture too. Now, this might be a little bit contentious as this is something you get used to, and realistically, it doesn't really matter. But there's something I wanted to point out about the X6. This is a fantastic menu, and it's easy to navigate, and it's the least confusing out of all of them. This is how you do a menu system, hoping this is something we can see more of in the future. As for performance, there's a few things here. I do know that the H5 has the ability to swap capsules, but we're comparing the stock purchase, not how they can be expanded on. Yes, both the H4 Essential and the Porta-Capture have Bluetooth, but they both need dongles for that, and they don't come standard, so while cool, we're not going to compare that either. However, the X6 and those rotating XY capsules are included, so let's see how they stack up against the other units. So yeah, I'd call that pretty decent, though this has to go to the Porta-Capture X6 for the ability to record as an AB pair instead of XY. It just offers a bit more flexibility for recording something, whether it's location sound or an instrument. I mean, this is a bit of a hands-down winner, isn't it? Tascam actually delivering real-world improvements to the portable recorder world. Just by actually upgrading things like the EIN and the touchscreen ability, they jumped out in front of Zoom. And it's kind of cool to see, but it's also kind of disappointing. You see, Zoom has had this title for some time, and they had a golden opportunity this year to reclaim the title, but did so with the Essential series that really underwhelmed by a lot. Now, I do have to mention a few caveats here. If you're looking for the functionality like what the H series does, then there's only one choice. The H5, H6, and H8 are still valid purchases, though I would recommend getting the H8 for the updated specs. And I have to give a nod to the H4 Essential as well, as it actually fills a need for the visually impaired. Something I would love to see more companies address, as I've spoken to many different people within the community, and those accessible options on the H4 Essential are a massive game changer. But true choice means people have more than one option, and that isn't the reality right now. But with all that said, if you're looking for the best portable/handheld recorder, the Porta-Capture X6 should be your go-to. And I say that because Tascam actually took steps to improve on the market, not just release something for a cash grab. And we need to support companies willing to push tech forward and not sit back on their previous wins. And don't get me wrong, I'm hoping Zoom can come back and claim their title, because the more competition we have in this space means lower prices and better gear. And that means we all win. So, my fingers are crossed. Cheers, guys, and thanks for watching.